Okay, please confirm you can see my screen now. Yeah, I guess you can see it now because me, I can see it here. Thank you, Gift. So I'm going to the introduction again. Welcome once again to today's class. Right, this is data analytics class, right? And this is the first official class. The first class we did was introductory class. We just introduced the course content generally. There was nothing really much or detail that we talked about. So today we'll go a bit deep into the course content and see how far we can go, right? So data analytics and visualization course is designed, or this particular course is designed to equip every one of you that are participating right now with the essential skill to transform raw data into clear and actionable insights, right? And this course focuses on data analytics techniques, right? Meaning at the end of this course, you'll be able to analyze data. If I'm too fast, this is just introduction, that's why I'm fast. As we progress, I'll be slow. I won't talk so fast like this, right? So at the end of this course, you would be able to analyze data, and much more than analyzing data, you would also learn the art of visualizing complex data sets to make informed decisions and to communicate findings effectively, right? And in our month one, we are looking at data analysis using Excel, right? We're looking at Excel or Google Sheet. Excel and Google Sheet, same thing, right? So but we're going to work with Excel. If you understand Excel, you'll be able to work with Google Sheet. It's the same thing, right? So in our Excel, we would start with the first course content here, which is intro to data and data analytics. So who can tell me what data is about? Data. Who can tell me what do you understand by the word data? Data. What do you understand by the word data? Data. Listening. Data. You can use the chat session in case you don't want to talk. Okay, I'm seeing somebody is saying raw information as correct. OS is telling us something else. What do you understand by the term data? Data. If you are talking, it will be better for me because I will not be switching between screens. Only Favor is talking. Is it Only Favor that know what data is about? So if you are raising your hand, just talk. Gift, just unmute yourself and talk.
Okay. Data is facts about people and events, places that don't make sense at the moment until it is turned to information. Processed into
that makes sense. I like the choice of words. It makes it very natural and relatable in our own context and in our environment. That's great. Who else? Okay, just unmute yourself and talk. Okay, so nobody is going to tell us what data is now. Are you having phobia? Phobia to talk online in a Google Meet? Ejiro, you raise your hand, just unmute yourself and talk. Once you raise your hand, unmute yourself and talk. Okay, let's progress because I want to try to finish this class as fast as I am able to. So data is simply a collection of course, for those of you that talked, what you said was correct, right? For example, Favor mentioned that data is raw information, correct? And what's the name now? I forgot the person. I think it was Gift who mentioned that data is collection of raw information that doesn't make sense. I may not get your exact words correctly. That doesn't make sense, and being able to transform that information that doesn't make sense to what people can relate to it, right? That is me putting what you said in another context. Well, I guess that's what you were communicating, which was also correct and very relatable and natural, right? So let's run. Data is a collection of raw facts, right? Collection of raw facts, collection of observations or symbols, right? Collection of raw facts, observation or symbols, which some of us are saying is raw information, unprocessed information, whichever way you want to put it, you are correct, right? So data is often noisy, right? When I say noisy, it means it doesn't really have focus, right? You know, when you're in noisy environment, when let's say you are in an environment, somebody is playing loud music, another person is playing loud music, another person is playing loud music, that's noise. You can't really pick anything from either of the music that is being played, right? So that's what I'm trying to say when I say data is noisy. You can't really pick meaning from what you are seeing. So in essence, it means data lacks meaning, right? Data lacks meaning. So data analytics is the science of analyzing that raw data to make conclusions, right? Or to identify patterns and support decision making. So data analysis is the science of analyzing that raw data to make conclusions, identify patterns, and support decision making, right? Sorry, excuse me. So that is intro to data and data analytics. Now, data and its components, of course, we'll get to this point of the course content where we will not dive into Excel, right? Let's see how fast we can go, and we'll be able to do small things in Excel. Right? If you leave me, say if I want to skip all this data and data type and all those things, but again, let's not skip, let's just have them so that every one of us is carried along. We don't just leave some people behind. So you can as well take note of the data life cycle of data or data life cycle. And one of the first stage is collection, which we saw in our definition. Collection, which is simply gathering raw input or gathering raw information, right? You can gather such information by survey or whichever medium you want to gather your data with. Then the next level or the next life cycle is cleaning, like removing errors and inconsistency. That's the next level. And the next level is analyzing, as applying statistical or logical techniques, right, to analyze. Then the last one is visualization. After you have analyzed, you need to now visualize. Visualize is representing the findings through charts and graph so that it will be easy for people to read and interpret. Right. Now, data and its components. Sorry, excuse me. So to analyze data, we must understand that we must understand its anatomy, right? That's talking about the component now. Right? In a standard data set, right, like in the form of a spreadsheet, which is Excel, which we'll be diving into any moment from now, right? We'll look at observations, right? That is the rows. Let me try to open Excel and share that screen with us. Excel. So in case you don't know how to use computer before, even though I may not be able to share my full screen, but let me try to share my full screen, then launch Excel. I will stop sharing my full screen. I will share only my Excel. But sharing full screen most times will be distorting the sharing. If I switch window to just be misbehaving, Google Meet does that a lot. But let me just try to do that at the beginning when I want to launch. So I will share my full screen. Entire screen. So I'm sharing my entire screen now. In case you don't know how to use the computer before, you've not used the computer before, you don't know how to open Excel, you don't know how to open any application, right? So that's why I'm doing this, to launch my application, which is Excel. Okay, you see this zigzag now. This was the reason I was trying to avoid sharing my full screen. But let's see how it goes. Then by the time I switch, it will be better. So the first thing to launch Excel, not just Excel, any application in your computer system, is to go through your Windows button, right? And you go and click, you would see all of your applications or some applications you have used recently here, or the ones that are pinned. as you can see on my screen now. These are my pinned application. Excel is here. But in case Excel is not pinned to your own Windows screen, you can decide to search for Excel using this search button and just type Excel. You will see it there, Excel 2023. Or again, instead of going through this process, you can actually just from the Windows button, right? This search bar in the Windows button, just click there and type your Excel to launch your Excel application straight up. So I can click on it here or click on it here to open and launch my Excel sheet. Right. So you have your Excel loading and your Excel is open. Okay. Yes. Okay. So this is what I will do now. I would stop sharing my full screen, then share only this Excel window, right? So that I will not have those zigzag being displayed on my screen that I'm sharing. I say I don't log that. So I hope this Excel works. I've not used this Excel in this PC for a long time. Okay, sorry, I'm launching Excel again. Okay, it works now. Carry your license out of here. Thank you. Okay, so let me share only my Excel sheets or my Excel window. I'm with you, just trying to share my Excel window. Okay. Now we are together. And now let's proceed. Now, for the first time, when you launch your Excel window, for those who have not used Excel before, that's why I'm going through this process. This is what you will see. Depends on the version of Excel you are using, though, right? But you are most likely going to see a welcome screen. And from the welcome screen, in most cases, you will see all of these templates, all these are templates, right? And you can decide to just ignore, of course, you must just ignore the template and click on this blank Excel workbook. Or you can as well click on this new, same thing. But let's take this one, blank Excel workbook. Now, this is, I hope my Excel will work. Oh, this one I'm seeing license is not genuine. So let me ignore license first. So this is your Excel interface. This is Excel interface, and I'll just run through the interface a little, even though I'm not going to explain in details. First off, we have the menu. This is the menu bar or the menu, all of all these items like the file, the home, the insert, the draw, the page layout. Oh, my battery is low. Please permit me to quickly get the charger for this laptop. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, so that's the menu bar where we have the file, the home, the insert, the draw, the page layout, the formulas, the data, the review, the view, the help, and the WPS PDF. You may not see WPS PDF in your own, right? Also because I installed WPS on my PC, possibly that's why I'm seeing that one. So you may not see it. You may not see it in your own PC, right? So now, another thing we'll look at is the ribbon. This is the ribbon. This is called the ribbon. The ribbon is where the content underneath the menus each of the menu items are displayed. Right, this part is the ribbons. If I click on insert now, say insert, say the content in the ribbons, they are different from the content in the ribbon when I click on home. Right, so this part is called the ribbon. Right, so and this is your workbook, the workbook, your Excel workbook, and this is a sheet, right? A sheet, like you have a page in Microsoft Word. In Microsoft Word, you know, it is called page in like page 1, page 2, page 3. In Excel, one of your pages is referred to as a sheet. Like this is a sheet. Now this is a sheet. So if I want another page, which is another sheet, I can click on this plus button here to add a new sheet. Right? This sheet 1, sheet 2, one, sheet 2. So I can work with multiple sheets. But let me close this sheet. Don't need it. Delete. Right. So back to what I was trying to explain, why I had to come open Excel so that we would understand what I was referring to. Right. So I was talking about, sorry, excuse me. I was talking about data and its components, right? And I mentioned that in a standard data set, right, like in a spreadsheet, we are going to be looking at observations, right? Observations, which is rows, right? And this is the row we are talking about. This is the row, like this. Let me highlight it. You see that highlighted section, and that's the row. That is the, let me look at my screen if you are still seeing my screen. Oh. The role I highlighted is not showing in this on the screen. Why? Okay, let me impute content. Maybe that would make it better. So let's say this is A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. So I guess you can see that labeling now. Yeah. So that is role in Excel. This is your role. That section where we have the A, B, C, D, that's the role. Then next we would talk about we'll look at variables, which is in columns, right? In columns. So for the rows, a single record can be referred to a row like that of a customer. Then we'll look at variables as in columns, character, which is characterized by measures. We'll talk about those ones in this one when I mention measures, so I don't get to confuse you. So for us to understand that. But this is row, then up to down is column like this. Let me delete this step now. So if you have content like this, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, this is column. Right? So up to down is column. Left to right is row. Right? So let's proceed. Then we'll talk about values as well. We'll be looking at values. Values are the specific content inside a cell, right? For example, this A that is typed here now, this is the value inside this cell, right? Of course, when you hear the word cell, cell is one box like this, which is the meeting point between a row and a column, right? This is a cell. This single one like that I'm clicking, these are all cells, right? So the content inside the cell is the value, right? Now, let's talk about data type. Data type. Who can mention one particular data type? Who can talk about data type? You would want to use the chat session before we proceed.
We have continuous data and uncontinuous data.
Okay. Who else is saying something else? Okay. Now let's talk about data type now. Now,
Discrete data.
sorry?
Discrete data.
Discrete.
Yes.
Oh, okay. That's correct. That's under quantitative data. And even the continuous is also correct. That's under quantitative data too. So basically, we have two types of data, right? We have qualitative data and we have quantitative data. Qualitative data and quantitative data. Now, qualitative data describes qualities or character, right? And under the qualitative data, that's what we have nominal data, and we have ordinal data. Let me type that in the chat section, although I didn't create a slide for this. Let me try to type that. So under the qualitative, we have this nominal, and we have this ordinal, not ordinal cow. We have this. Ordinal. Okay, nominal data and ordinal data. Right, that's under qualitative data. So nominal data categorize without a natural order, right? Nominal data categorizes without a natural order. For example, hair color, country, gender. There is no natural order. There's no order to it, right? That's for, sorry, please. I need to start another meeting for another class. Not me taking it. I need to start the meeting for them, please. I need to just quickly address a meeting that is ongoing that, like, facilitator has gone out. Hello? Please, I guess the facilitator had run out of battery. I'm sure his battery went off. So let's just end the class for today. But I'm unable to call him right now because I'm inside a class. Thank God somebody called my attention to it. That's why I even knew that your class was pending. Right? So we'll continue next week or wherever he has stopped the class for today. Thank you all for joining. And even though I didn't get to take attendance here, just permit me to quickly take a screenshot of those of you that are in the call and capture the attendance, please. Let me just take a screenshot of those on the call. Yeah, thank you. I think I've done that. I've captured the attendance, please. All right, thank you all. Thank you. So see you next week. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Okay, let me quickly stop the recording. Okay, please, I'm sorry. I just needed to do that. Facilitator was taking a class, and I'm sure he ran out of battery possibly, but he's not in the center. So he left the class hanging. I had to just address that. And he's supposed to take another class. Just give me, please. I'm very sorry. This is not meant to demean your own timing. Please just let me try to put a call across to him to know what exactly is happening. Because he's supposed to take another class to be sure everything is intact. Please, I'm very sorry. Please, sorry about that. Okay, I'm back. Akna, I'm very sorry about that. I'm sorry. Apologies, please. Okay, let's continue. So we're talking about data type, and I mentioned that there are primarily two classifications to data type. We have the qualitative data and we have quantitative data. And I mentioned that qualitative data, describes qualities or character. That's for qualitative data. Whereas quantitative data describes quantity that can be measured. There's something that can be measured. And that's where those two type of data that two different persons responded to in our class mentioned comes in. Where somebody talked about discrete data. That's under quantitative data. Discrete data are simply whole numbers that are countable, that you can count, right? Whole numbers that can be counted. For example, numbers of children or numbers of cars, right? Those are discrete data, right? Then the other type of quantitative data is continuous data that another person also mentioned, right? Those are data that can take any value within a range. They can take any value within a range and they can be infinitely divided. They can't be infinitely divided. For example, the height of a person, just like me now that I'm very tall, from the other way around, the height of a person, the temperature, and time, those are continuous data, right? Now, let's quickly look at, I'm just trying to run through this so I can jump into Excel and try to do one or two in Excel. Then let's quickly look at data structure. Data structure. Uh, Data structure generally falls into three three. One, structured data, unstructured data, and semi-structured data. Structured data, unstructured data, and semi-structured data. Now, structured data are highly organized and they are easily searchable. They are easily searchable in relational database. When you hear the word relational database, we are talking about a functioning database, just like an SQL. Okay, then unstructured data refers to unstructured data refers to data that has no predefined format. There is no format to it, right? Then the last one is semi-structured. Sorry, I'm a bit canty in my words. I'm trying to manage two things simultaneously, trying to get the facilitator back on call and see how I can get into manage the next class I'm supposed to take. Please pardon me. Yeah, hello. Okay, I'm back. Please, I'm very sorry about that. I am feeling bad for this plenty apology because it's not making sense in any way. I'm just imagining myself in your position with all this plenty interference. I am very sorry. I guess I've been able to manage things to their barest minimum, right? And hopefully this will not repeat itself again because I may not be the one to take your class after now because I'm quite distracted with some other things. So I try to take myself out of class activity so that I don't get distracted. Like what is happening right now, which I'm feeling bad about. Sincerely, I'm feeling bad about it. And to be in your position, I wouldn't like it. So I'm sorry. And I guess after now, I would have to manage this in the barest minimum so it doesn't affect our class. Thank you very much for your understanding. Even though you didn't give me feedback that you understood, and I know you understood. Thank you very much. Thank you. So like I mentioned, after now, hopefully I will not be here to be taking your class, to be distracted, right? Thank you. So let's continue. So I mentioned structured data already. I mentioned unstructured data and I mentioned semi-structured data. And I mentioned that structured data are highly organized data, right? They are highly organized data. And I mentioned that unstructured data has no defined format, right? They have no defined format. For example, your email, PDF, video files, social media posts. All those are data, but there's no defined format to them, right? Then we have semi-structured data. This does not reside in a relational database. We're talking about when I make yes, I make reference to the relational database earlier. When you hear the word relational database, we are talking about, for example, your MySQL, or some places will say MySQL, whichever we want to pronounce it, right? A real database, that's what we're talking about, right? So then examples of semi-structured data are JSON file. Some of you may not know JSON file, but it's fine. HTML file. These are files for people that write programs, right? So now let's quickly look at difference between data types and what's that? Let me quickly check the curriculum. I know it was data type and what. Okay, data types, data analytics approach for beginners. Right? Let's quickly look at that and look at understanding classification and structure of a data. Then we'll quickly jump into Excel environment and different type of data. We just quickly jump into Excel. I may not be able to go through all of those different types. Okay. Now, I think I can quickly do this. Let me quickly see I can share this particular information on a screen so that it is easier for us to relate with. I'm trying to get this particular part of the different types. Okay. I want to click it out. Just hold on. I'm with you. Hold on. I'm with you. I'm with you. My computer is not responding. I'm trying to clip this part and display, but the thing is not. I'm unable to even navigate from one screen to another. Oh shit. What is this? Oh no. Let me look for a way to exit this meeting and join again. Ah. I'm unable to locate the meeting window. Please, I'm sorry about this. My cursor is just running up and down, and I'm unable to do anything. Oh, okay, finally. Okay, finally, it's responded now. I wanted to clip something and show to you guys before. Now they think on the go do it and understand. Okay, no need clipping it because every time I click on it, it's acting weird and somehow. I want to show us the data types versus data analysis approach. That's what I wanted to show us in real time, but that particular screen is not responding. So let me just try to narrate it to us. I'm sorry, I really would have loved to show it to you. So, for example, we can talk about a particular feature. Let's say focus, for example, right? So the data type, which is number versus text. I wish I can show you this thing that will be easier to, because this, oh, it's not making sense even as I'm trying to explain it independently without this. Okay, let's go this way. Now, data type, right? We mentioned continuous data, right? The other time, continuous data. Now, the data analytics approach that best fits this could be could be the use of predictive analytics, right, to forecast future prices. That's for continuous data or continuous variable. Talking about continuous the other time. Continuous data or continuous variable. For example, price. Like we want to know the price of something, right? We could use predictive analytics to forecast future prices when we want to know, like, let's say, price of fuel, right? Which is a continuous variable. It's not fixed, it's a continuous variable. So we can decide to use predictive analytics to forecast its future prices. And currently, because there is war is one thing that makes certain product that the particular war is affecting, right, to skyrocket, especially in the, sorry. Hello, sir. Mr. Elias, you can start the class now. You don't need to wait for that. Just start the class. All right, thank you, sir. Okay, sorry about that. So currently there is a war, and in one news highlight I saw, even though I've not read the news, I've not read to verify to be very sure, but I heard that a particular result in UAE was destroyed during this war, Russia-Iran war, right? And that one is what is affecting the price of fuel currently globally. And UAE being one of the major producer of oil, right? Since that one was done, Dangote market skyrocketed. Dangote decided to hike his own price because there's now a high demand globally. So That is part of the reason we are having fuel price hike right now. So we can use activity like this, that if there is war, for even in Nigeria now, if there is war in Lagos, let's use Lagos as an example, because Lagos seems to be the hallmark of business or e-commerce in Nigeria. If there is a major war in Lagos, it will affect the price of everything in Nigeria, right? So we can easily predict those continuous data with certain activities or certain events, right? So we use predictive analytics to forecast those kind of data, right? So now let's pick another scenario, right? Assuming we want to determine if we can calculate a mean, as in mean in mathematics, mean mode median, a mean. We want to calculate a mean. We want to determine if we can calculate a mean, right? That is all type, right? Now, to do that, we would, sorry, excuse me. We would determine why we are looking at the data, right? We will determine why, as in why, W-H-Y. We are looking at the data. Then we could also decide to check the nature of a particular value or a particular data, right? Which could be number or text. We want to check the nature of the value, right? So we could use methodology to extract insight from those numbers or those tests. Now, this particular statement may not make so much sense to a lot of us, especially with the fact that we are, to some of us that are new into data analytics. But by the time we get into practicals, you will understand this context better. Unfortunately, I couldn't share the screen, so I'll just leave that one. So let's jump into our Excel that we have opened, and we'll just look at the Excel environment and look at arithmetic and logical operators rather in Excel, and maybe time permits, we can look at date and time function in Excel and test function in Excel. Depends on how far I can go. Let's go to our Excel now. Now, I mentioned earlier that our Excel environment, which I've explained. So I will not go through that Excel environment again. Now, and I also mentioned that each of the boxes in Excel are referred to Excel. And again, each cell has a name. Each cell in Excel has a name. Of course, you can rename a cell, but there is a default name for a cell. And the default name is usually displayed here. This place I'm pointing at now. And the name of the cell is a product of the name of the row combined with the name of the column, or rather the name of the column combined with the name of the row. Now, for example, this is the first column of this sheet now, and this is called column A, this is called column B, this is called column C. This is the first row of this sheet. This is row 1, this is row 2. So the columns are labeled alphabetically, while the rows are labeled numerically. So the name of a cell is a combination of the column label and the row label. So for example, now if I click on this particular cell, it is in column A and in row 2. That's no, sir. Oh, welcome, sir. Okay, which class? Yeah, US. Okay, cybersecurity. Okay. All right, sir. Welcome, sir. Okay, sorry about that. So is combination of the column and the row. So this becomes column. This becomes say A2. Right? This is say B2. This is say C5. So the column and the row. Now, why this one is important is because when you begin to perform logical operation in your Excel sheet, you need to reference each of these cell name, right, to perform your operation. Now, let's take arithmetic operation, for example, let's say I have a value here, which could be anything, say 50 and 12 here. These are values in this particular Excel sheet, right? Now, this sheet now and this sheet, if I want to perform arithmetic operation on these particular values that are here, I don't need to see 50 plus 12, right? I don't need to see 50 plus 12. What I need to do is to call the name of this particular cell and the name of this particular cell. Now, how do you perform arithmetic operation rather in Excel? You use the equal to sign, that's the formula for arithmetic operation, the equal to sign, right? The name of the cell where the first value you are performing the operator on is located. For this case, this first value is located in C4. So I will now say, so sorry, I'm omitting something. Equal to, then the next keyword is sum. Sum is the keyword for performing arithmetic operation in Excel. So I will now say equal to sum. Then I will open a bracket, right? Then I'll mention the first cell that I'm referencing, and that is C4. Yeah, C4. Then I can use my plus sign, plus. Let's use the other one, D. I think that's D4 too. Yeah, D4. Then close my bracket, and it gives me the value. See this now. So the value of, okay, I can over expand. Let me over expand it so it's more visible for those of us online. I guess this is more visible now when I zoom it out. Let me look at if I'm still active online. Okay, I'm still active online. It's more visible now, right? Okay, more visible compared to earlier on. Okay, so let's continue. So to get that now, these are formula bar. This is the formula bar. The formula that we performed here now, the arithmetic operation that we performed here now is seen here. Why the value is here, the formula is displayed here in the formula bar, right? So let's continue. Now, you see what we did here now. In performing the arithmetic operation rather, we didn't need to call the value or mention the value. Rather, we mention the cell where the value is located, the cell that is housing the value, right? That's what we just did here now. So I'll take that again for those who are not familiar with this basic arithmetic operation in Excel. So again, I must not put the value here for it to work, or the formula here for it to work. So if I have the formula here, for example, the same thing. If I come and type it here, equal to, as long as I'm mentioning the cell name correctly, it will still give me the answer. That's D4. Close my bracket and press my enter. See this now, it's still giving me the answer. So whether I'm putting it here, I'm putting it here, wherever I'm putting it is not necessary. As long as I'm able to reference the cell or the cell name correctly, my value will still be correct, right? Now this is for additional operation, right? Now, assuming I have multiple cells that I want to calculate, right? And I want to add the values. Let's say there is a value here now, right? And let's delete this and add a value here, for example, and add a value here. So how do I calculate this? Do I have to now be mentioning?
But the formula again, the formula.
Oh, okay. Equal to, the keyword is sum. Sum is the keyword for performing mathematical operation in Excel. So is equal to sum. Open your bracket and close your bracket. And inside the bracket, inside the open and close bracket, I would have to now mention the cell that is housing the value I am carrying out this operation on, or this operation on. So for these ones now, I have this cell, which is B4. I can say plus C4 plus D4, of course, I will show us a shortcut. We don't have to be listing all of the cells. E4 plus F4. Now, again, okay, let me finish this. I will mention what I want to mention now. And I press my enter. I see the value now is calculated here. Right. Now, again, it doesn't mean that all of the values must be in a single row like this for me to be able to mention them and calculate them. So if this value was not here, let's say this value is here, I move this value here now, and I move this value from here. Let's say I move this value here now. Get that now? So if that value is there, all I just need to do, although Excel has automatically done it for me by changing the value, so all I need to do is to reference the cell. You see it now, it becomes B4 plus C7. This is this particular value plus D4 plus D6 plus F4. So I'll just have to mention the cell name where the value is stored.
Yes.
Right? So irrespective of. Somebody want to say something?
Yes, sir. Your screen.
It's not showing again.
Yes, sir.
Oh, it is showing. Oh, please, somebody has confirmed. Let me be sure if it is just him or is a general thing.
It has come.
Your screen is showing.
Okay,
Okay,
so
done,
is
done,
your
done.
is okay. So you can exit and join again.
It's showing from my end. Yeah.
Okay, so that person that complete is your own, so you can exit and join again. Okay, let me try to be a bit fast so that I can wrap up quickly. Okay. So, like I mentioned, you just have to identify the cell where the value is located. Now, instead of doing all those plenty, C4, B4, D4, F4, right? I can decide to use a range. Let me just do that here. So I can decide to use the range. Somebody wants to say something? Okay, please mute your mic, please. So with the range approach, I pick the first cell, which is this one now. That is B4. So instead of using plus to be adding all of them, I'll just put my colon and call the last cell, which is this one, F4. F4. You see that now? When I do that, it highlights all of the cells that are involved. And by the time I close the cell, and I press enter, it calculates it for me. The same thing. But when you're using the column approach, like summing in a range, it means the value have to be either in a straight row or in columns. Because you cannot sum in a range where the values are scattered. For example, we have one value here, we have another value, like we did the other time, we have another value here, we have another value here. You can't do that in a range. The value has to be in a row, a straight row, or in a straight column. That's when you can use the range approach. Now, for subtraction, the same thing. So for subtraction, it has to be between two values. These two values, for example. So I can say equal to sum, same sum, right? Like I mentioned, that's the keyword for performing mathematical operation in Excel. So what the only difference is not the operator, right? So I can see sum equal to sum, open my bracket, let's say B4 minus B4. You see that now? So we are subtracting this from this, and this is our value, right? So if I want to also perform, use the division operator, I will just do equal to sum, open my brackets, call the cell I want to divide. Let's say E4 divide by, no, I think it's this one that works. Okay, let me see. Yeah, this divide by which one has small value. Now, okay, let's use the D4. See that now? It gives me my value 2. Then when I want to carry out multiplication operation, I would the same thing, no difference, equal to, let's say, which one I will multiply now? Let's just pick D4 times. So you can use the asterisk on your keyboard, that's the times. Don't use X. If you use X, it won't work. So you use asterisk on your keyboard. And for those who don't know how to access the asterisk is on your numeric keys, number 8. Numeric keys on top of your keyboard, number 8. Then you press your shift key and the 8 to give you the asterisk value. So you can say this and C4. Those are brackets, press enter, it gives us, right? So these are the simple approach that we can use to, sorry, excuse me. That we can use to carry out this basic mathematical operation in Excel. Right. Now let's quickly look at the next thing. But before I look at the next course outline, any question with this one so far? Something you don't understand? Any question? Any clarity on something? Let me quickly check the outline for the other thing. Okay, if you raise your hand, just quickly talk. I'm listening. Just talk. Fidelis, talk. I'm seeing just Fidelis and Blessing that I'm seeing their hands. Talk. Oh. So I can look at logical operators fast and see how far I can go before I'll wrap up this class. I'll go and take my main course. Okay.
Thank you for the class. A really good teacher. You talked about the second approach. You called it range. The first
Yes.
one, how is it called? What is it called?
That's just direct operator.
Okay, direct operator.
Oh, yes, just direct. Just adding two values in two cells.
Okay.
So that range is when you want to now add multiple values, right? So you use the column to sum up the values in range.
Thank you, sir.
So the next place I think is, all right, thank you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, so I was saying, is it possible for the full course outline to be like displayed on the comments section so that we can copy it out?
Oh, okay. How about I share it on your group?
Okay, that would be just.
I'll share it on your group.
All right.
Share it later. All right, thank you. Is that all?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. So you can drop your answer. I can. Okay, thank you. Okay, now let's quickly look at some logical operators, right? Let's quickly do that and see how far I can go. Now, logical operators are basically used for decision making, right? Decision making. They allow you to test whether a condition is true or false, right? And at an extreme end, you want to say when a condition is true, so things should be done. When a condition is not true, so tasks or so things should be done or shouldn't be done. Depends on what you are doing, right? That's at the level of comparison, right? So we'll just, sorry, excuse me, look at logical operators at the level of comparison, and we look at it at a more detailed level where we are now. Sorry, excuse me. Bringing in more logic. Okay, let's do the first one. For example, these are some of the popular logical operators we have. Equal to, we have equal to, we have greater than, we have less than, we have greater than, equal to, we have less than or equal to, right? Those are the basic logical operators. So let's pick the first one, equal to. So for example, we want to know if the value of a cell is equal to or is not equal to the value of another cell. So let's pick, for example, now we have this cell C4 and this cell D4. We want to know if these values are equal. Again, some of you may now be saying, of course, we are seeing it very simple. This value and this value are not equal, right? It is. So the purpose of this one is for you to understand how to perform logical operations, right? So that later when you need it, it's not basically for clear values that you can see there like this, but you now know how to implement it. That's just the core purpose of this. So we want to check if this value is equal to this value. This and I click on. Okay, this value is equal to that value. So excuse me, get out of there, get out of there, get out of there. So the first thing in carrying out every formula in Excel is the equal to sign. So we'll start with the equal to sign. Now we want to know if this value is equal to this value. So we'll now say equal to C4 equal to, now don't get confused. Sorry. I'm not saying it more clear. The first equal to we are using is the equal to sign that we must add when we want to write any formula in Excel. That is what makes Excel to understand that we are writing a formula and not just ordinary value, right? That's this first one. So the second equal to we are writing now, that one is the operator. So we want to check if this is equal to this, if this value is equal to this value. So that is this second equal to, so you don't get confused. This one is for the operator. So equal to D4. Press enter. You see that now it gives us false, meaning these two values are not equal to. Let's change something now. Let's tweak it. I want to modify the content of this cell. Let's make it 50. You'll see that our response will change. So now they are equal to, now let's see. You see here now, it is now true because these two values are equal to each other, right? What we had there before was, I can't remember the value that was there before. I think 13. Can't remember. Or 23. Anything. See that now? False. Right. So this is how the equal to operator works. Now, the next operator we look at is the not equal to operator. Not equal to. We want to check if the value in a particular cell is not equal to the other value. So in doing that, we would still start with the equal to sign, but in Excel, the not equal to operator is denoted with less than and greater than sign. These two signs, that's what it is used to express the not equal to. So for us to check now, I can say equal to, that is formula. Let's say E. So this thing is not case sensitive. You can decide to write in small letter or capital letter. E4 is not equal to F4. Enter. True. That's true. Of course, E4, this is E4. this value is not equal to this, right? So it tells us true. And for it, these two values are not equal to. But if we change the value now and see that the values are equal, the response would be false. Now let's move forward to the next operator. Right? Next operator we'll be looking at is the greater than operator. The greater than operator. Now I want to check if a value is greater than the other value. So in doing that, the greater than sign is used. So I can just say, come here, I want to say equal to, which value will I put now? Let me just pick the C4 is greater than, let's say, E4. And of course, C4 is not greater than E4, but let's see what comes out. See that false. So it means it is not greater than. Then the next operator we'll look at is the less than operator. The less than operator. So we can pick any of the cells that we have values in. So let's pick this one, for example. I'm going to use this one this time around. I'll say equal to F. This is F7. 7 is less than, let's say, E4. S7 is less than E4 is false because, of course, this value is not less than this value, right? It is greater than, right? So that is, so far we have performed the equal to operator. This one is the not equal to operator, which is denoted with less than and greater than sign combined. Let me write it here for those who may be writing. This is the sign used for it. This one is the equal to. So I can say, okay, let me just put the test in front of it. No, I'm not writing anything now. Leave it. No. Plus is equal to now. It thinks I want to write something. Yeah. Okay, this is equal to, sorry, equal to, not equal to. And this is this one is the greater than operator. I think here is greater than, which is this, and this is less than operator. So greater than, less than, right? So these are the operators we've performed so far. Now let's continue. Now, the next one we're going to be looking at is the greater than and equal to operator. Greater than and equal to operator. Now, in doing this, we could pick one value. Let's pick this value now. Of course, it works both ways, but let's do this first. Let's say we want to check if this cell, let's say F7, is greater than or equal to 10, for example. See this? Tells us true. Yes, it is greater than or equal to 10. That is me adding a test that I want to compare it with straight. But again, I can decide to compare with another cell on the value in another cell. So I can say equal to F7 is greater than or equal to D9. D9. See that false. Of course, this is not greater than, neither is it equal to this, right? But when the two values are not same, let's say this is now. Let's put 217 here, 217. Now this value and this value are the same. So if we perform that same operator now and say equal to F7 is greater than or equal to F9, right? Enter. What is it saying? It's true, of course, because these two values are equal to, even though they are not greater than, but they are equal to. So either the condition has to be true, right? Sorry, when either the condition is true, it tells us it is true. When either the condition is false, it tells us it is false. Either in the sense that it is greater than it or it is equal to it, right? So the last one we'll be doing is the lesser than or equal to. Lesser than or equal to. We're supposed to also jump into if condition, but I may not be able to do that one today because I'm supposed to jump into my personal class I'm supposed to be taking for today. But let's take the lesser than or equal to, then maybe we can wrap it here. And in our next class, if there is, we could do the logical operator, or maybe I'll just do one logical operator, a core logical operator, then we'll call it a day. So the next one is same thing with this one. All we are just doing in that is different is we are not saying lesser than as a list using greater than or equal to. We are not using lesser than or equal to, right? Like just saying equal to, let's say F9 is lesser than or equal to 50. See that? So same thing. So let's not flog that one. But same thing with the greater than. The only difference is that this one is using less than, while this one is using greater than. Right? So lastly, let me just pick this core logical operator, then we'll call it a wrap for today. The core logical operator. Now, when we're talking about core logical operators or core logical functions, we are considering those with condition, right? With logical condition. For example, we have the if function in Excel, the if function. So the if function is the most common logical tool in Excel, right? So what that does is it helps us to check a condition and returns one value if true. Right? It returns a value if it is true, or returns another if it is false. So for example, you want to know if a particular student or a student in a class, they pass a particular exam or not. Okay, yes, exam, we can use exam now, or a particular test. We want to know if they pass, right? We want to check. So we can use this core logical function or the if function to check that one. Now, the simple formula is the if with a what's it called now? The if with our greater than or equal to sign, still the same thing for me. Let me just to create a space I can use for this. So let's do this one here. So now I can say if the value of, let's use this value now. Let's assume that this is a score of a particular student or a learner. This cell I've selected now, this C7, right? The student participated in a test of about 20 and the student scored 11. Of course, this 11 is more than average, right? But we want to determine if the student passed or not. This one is basically in large data, right? Not because of a single data, but we are just applying to a single data now. That's why you understand, like I've always mentioned. So we can say if that's equal to, first of all, like I mentioned, you must always start with equal to. Equal to, if that's a logical operator now, open a bracket. Now, if you notice something, it was only when we're doing the comparison operator, when we're doing greater than or less than, or that we didn't put open or bracket, we didn't open bracket and close bracket. Then when we did our first arithmetic operators or operation, we did open bracket for them, right? So same thing we are doing here. If this cell now, C7 is greater than, now the average score for, because the test is over 20, so the average score should be 10. That's the average score. So anybody that scores 10 over 20, that person actually passed because that's like average. So if C7 is greater than or equal to. Why we want to put the equal to operator now? Because if we say greater than, it means if this person scored 10, the person will fail. But when we say greater than or equal to, say it means the person can score 10 or score above 10, greater than or equal to 10. You see that now? If C7 is greater than or equal to 10, comma, right? We will now put the values that in programming generally or in computer generally, when you want to declare a value, you must always hold them with double quotes, right? Double quotes. So this is the value we want to put now. Sorry, that's double quotes. So we can see if it is greater than or equal to, we'll say pass, right? Sorry. But if it is not, what will happen? Fail. I know this is where some of us will now get confused. Then I'll close my brackets. You see that now? It says pass because this value is greater than. So if I change this value to 5, now it means this person scored below average. You see here it changes to fail, right? But let's take it back to 10. We say 10 means the person passed because 10 is also average because we say when it is equal to or greater than, greater than or equal to, right? So if I put 20, that person also passed, right? That's the value. Once it is greater than that 10, it means the person passed. Let's take it back to the original. So this is a simple logical operator. A simple logical operator. Let me copy the formula and put it in the cell in front of it. So this is the formula. So excuse me. Thank you, sir. So get that now. So the first syntax, or say the syntax, like the formula for calculating a logical operator in this context is, we have the if, which is the logical operator or the condition, right? Then we have the first logical test. What's the first logical test that we have here now? The first logical test is this. If this is the first logical test, right? And this is the value of the logical test. We are testing if this thing is greater than this, right? Then when the logical test passes the condition, the value that will be displayed is this one. This is the first value. Then when it doesn't passes the condition, this is the value it will display, right? So each of the values are enclosed in double quotes. Now, if you watch something again, there is comma. So the essence of this comma here now is to separate the different levels of the values that we have here. For example, this is our logical test. C7 is greater than or equal to 10 is our logical test. That's the end of that expression. The first value is passed. This is the end of this first value. That is when our logical test passes the mark, it should give us this. Now, the last part of it is when it doesn't pass the mark. This is the other value that it will give. So we just separated each of the value with comma. The logical test, comma, the first value, comma, and the last value. Then you close your bracket. I guess that's clear. Any question? Because this is how far I can go for today. Any question or anything you really didn't understand, I can try to bring clarity to it as I wrap up. Any question? Any question? Okay, I will take your silence as no question. It means you understand everything we talked about. Okay, I'm seeing a question here. Is it only sum that is an... Wait, okay, let me go from beginning. Is it only sum that is an... Okay, same question. Is it only sum that is an except function? No, not only sum. Now, you saw the if that we use now. If, that's another except function. So it's not only sum. Right? There are plenty other except function. Sum is for arithmetic operators like plus, minus, divide, or division and multiplication. I guess I've answered that question. Any other question or clarity, something you just need to just be fast so I can end this class and at least catch my breath for a minute before I continue. Okay, thank you, Favor. You said you understood everything. How many hours would the class be for? I'm ending the class now, so when we started to now, I don't know how long we have spent, but this is the end of today's class. Although I understand that there were interruptions in between. Sorry about that once again. So, okay, in the absence of no other question, thank you for joining today's session, and do enjoy the rest of your day. And at your leisure, again, don't always wait for class session to learn, right? Don't wait for class session to learn. At your leisure, if I were to be in your shoe, I will go back to this particular Excel now, open Excel and go to Google and search, or no, I'll share the material on the group and search for other logical operators, right? I'm doing this particular class like this right now because your learning content is not available on your dashboard. Once the learning content is available on your dashboard, we won't be doing this ABCD kind of approach, right? It will be strictly what you have learned within the week from your learning dashboard and bringing up questions, and every one of us joining heads together to put them into practical use in real life cases, right? Yes, we'll send the outline. I'll send it to the group. Thank you all. Thank you. Okay, let me quickly take attendance. Just hold on. Let me quickly screenshot. I forgot to add my attendance taker to this particular meeting. But just hold on. Let me screenshot this. Once I'm done screenshotting, I will let you know, please. I hope this screenshotting application works. Okay. Oh no. Hold on. Snip. Oh, this was the application I was not responding earlier. Oh. Okay, please just hold on. Let me join with another PC so I can screenshot. Oh, that's why this PC was hanging the other time. Let me join. Just hold on, please. Sorry. Let me join with another PC then. Quickly screenshot this meeting. meet.google.com/ZJR-A-Q. Okay, let me stop recording. So it's not part of recording. Thank you, recording. I want to stop screen sharing. Oh, God help me. Stop recording, not screen sharing. Stop recording. So I really need that screen sharing as part of the attendance screenshot I want to do. Just please give me at most 2 minutes. I'll be done with that, please. Sorry for taking much of your time. Okay. AQPC-SDH. Okay, please hold. I'm joining now. Thank you for understanding. Okay, I'm joining now. I have joined. Disconnecting. I'm opening my screenshotting app. I've opened my screenshot app. So just hold on. Okay. Okay, I'm just waiting for it to load. Just hold on. I'm waiting for my screen to be visible on the other screen, the screen sharing, so I can take it. Thank you for your understanding. Thank you. Okay. I'm sorry, Joseph. Your cry has entered my screenshot. Okay, let me take it again. Or Josephine, sorry. Okay, I've taken one, just one more. The last. Like Josephine. Okay, I am done. Thank you very much. Thank you. I'm done. Oh, Josephine, you want to ask question? I'm done. But if you want to ask question, you can ask. But I'm done. Thank you very much.
Please, good afternoon.
Ask
The
me, ma'am.
material, is it possible for us to have them for today's class?
Okay, I'll try to put it together and send to you. I'll try, but I don't know if I'm able to do that. But first of all, this is not my class. I just have to step in. That's
Oh.
one. Then secondly, I will be distracted with other things, but I hope I'm able to compile it and send to you. I will try.
All right, all right. So the next class is on Saturday again.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you.